All right. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Samantha Weisbeck. I'm the owner and general manager here at Danceware Center, and I'm joined today by some very special guests. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi,
Yay, hi,
I'm Kristen.
and Michelle, and we are the co-founders of Danscend.
Danscend is a company that is dedicated to providing mental wellness resources for dancers, dance teachers, and dance organizations. We're about 3 years old at this point. Um, Michelle and I were both professional dancers. We're now dance educators, and we saw a need for this in our own students and figured that the dance world as a whole at large could benefit from some of these resources. And that's how we started. We have an advisory board full of mental health professionals who make sure that we are um, understanding the research properly and communicating these things in the right way. And we just want to make sure that dancers, dance teachers, dance organizations have information that can help them be better at all of those things and healthier in all of those ways. So we're really excited to be here today. Thank you.
Amazing. Very cool. Great. Well, so you're starting to talk about the inception here, but can you share like the major inspiration behind the creation of Danscend and how it's then evolved?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, Kristen and I were both working at the same college. And we were on a play date with our sons at a playground. And we were talking about how much our dancers were really struggling, as many dancers were during the pandemic, dancing from their garages and in their bedrooms and living rooms and not being around other humans. So we were like trying to find a way to creatively help our own students. And I have a friend who's a mental health professional. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, could you help us create some stuff to help our dancers? And so we did. And then we were like, wait a minute, that's actually something we think other people could use. Kristen and I spent the next about a year doing a lot of research and development, and we had beta test groups of dancers and beta test groups of dance teachers, and we got a lot of feedback. We compiled our list of mental health professionals who are all either current or former performers or who deeply ensconced in the dance world. And then around 2022, we started offering our programs and our services and our certifications and all of that to the world at large. So we started about 3 years ago, but we did spend a lot of time doing a lot of research and just really seeing what kind of worked. And what we started with was we were like, we're going to help dancers. But then as we started, kind of creating all of these dance resources, and we still do have dance resources, we realized it is one thing to help a dancer, but it is another thing if that dancer is, engaging in positive self-talk and like really working on creating a healthy mindset and all that, but then their teacher's not supporting them. So we were like, we need to start at the top. We need to start with the people that are in front of the classroom, setting the stage, who are really creating the environment where all of these dancers can learn. So we shifted pretty early on to like really focusing on creating resources for dance teachers, and now we have resources for dance teachers to share with their students. So yeah, and then the rest is history. So now we've been really growing a lot, which has been really amazing. We have created partnerships with a number of organizations, everything from colleges to dance competitions. We have dance competitions where we train their staff, we train their judges in how to give supportive feedback. We're headed to Regional Dance America to do workshops. We're going to Regal Dance Lives, like Dance Live Teacher Conference in the summer. So it's really kind of starting to snowball into not just us saying, hey, y'all should be focusing on mental health, into like people reaching out to us and saying like, hey, we heard you do this thing. We want to involve you all into our programming. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, that's tremendous. That's very exciting. Cool. Okay, so what do you think sets Danscend apart from other dance education platforms, and how do you kind of mentioned this a little bit with the intro, but how are you ensuring that the quality and effect, or that there is quality and effectiveness in your courses?
I would say that, well, I'll start backwards. We heavily rely on our advisory board because Michelle and I are not mental health professionals, right? That's not our area of expertise. Our area of expertise is the dance studio and dance culture and the dance industry and the dance world. Uh, so we run our resources by them. We take their suggestions. We have meetings. We listen to their ideas. We try to implement um, things from them. We make sure that, you know, everything that we use is based off of peer-reviewed scientific research. So we're really rooting our materials in things that have been researched by professionals in the field, right? And then I would say that the other thing that sets us apart, and I don't know if this so much sets us apart, but it's something that is near and dear to us. It's one thing, which we do, to share education. We're educators, right? Of course, we share education. This is what the research says. This is what this study says. Hey, in the journal of XYZ, you know, we could go on for days and days and days, and we do. We share this stuff because it's interesting. But okay, then what? Like, we don't want to just leave it there, because I think a lot of times people can be overwhelmed with this information and not really know how to apply it. And I think that that's really where we come in, and we have to figure out, how does the information from this part of the world, right, the mental health industry, how can it help this part of the world, the dance industry? And we sort of translate that so that teachers, dancers, organizations can walk away with actionable tips, things to do in the studio, in the classroom, in their life, that utilizes all of that information that we're talking about, all of those studies that we pull, and we kind of hand them those tools and give them those tools. Because without the tools, the information just swims around in your brain and you don't know what to do with it. It's like information overload, you know, like, you know so much about something, but you're not even sure what the first step is on that path. So it's really important to us that people feel not only knowledgeable and well educated on certain topics and understanding why these things are important, but also that they feel confident in taking the first couple steps. Okay, now that I know this, what do I do with it? Kind of thing. So that's really important to us. And of course, we rely heavily on our advisory board to make sure that we are doing things the right way, and we're not providing therapy, right? That's also the other thing that we're always telling people, like, this isn't therapy. We highly recommend it. If you feel like you need it, go get it. It's great, you know. But that's not what we're doing. We're just trying to create a better culture. We're trying to create healthier people, and we're trying to really push for change in an industry that for so long saw dancers strictly as bodies first and not full humans. So yeah, that's where all this comes from. And we hope that that's where we're headed. And we already see evidence of that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I'll just add that as a consumer, and I've been teaching for over 15 years, and it's been really interesting to see, like, the science coming out now, and being and the changes that we've seen too with just the students. And the last 4 years has been extremely overwhelming as an educator. Like, we all know this, and mostly because, like you're mentioning, yeah, I can read the reports and see that this is a problem. Great, what do I do about it? And it leaves you in this place where I feel like the teacher is not only seeing why it's happening, but now is just even more overwhelmed because we have the why and not the, how and what next. And I think that the way that you folks boil things down into small, approachable, actionable steps is, like, it's huge relief. Finding you was a huge relief. So I just can attest to that. They are very effective, and I have been very grateful.
Thank you. That's actually like the best feedback we could get. We say all the time, like, we just want to be useful.
Yeah.
Like we really do. We just want to be useful, because what's the point? If people don't know how to use it, what's the point, right? So like, thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
because that's helpful for us to know.
Yes, yeah, I super appreciate it. So, great. Okay. And you're talking a little bit, it sounds like you rely very heavily on your advisory board, but how do you curate and develop the content for your courses, your weekly council meetings, and what factors do you consider when you're selecting instructors or topics?
Well, we start usually with, we started with asking all of our folks. So we ask our community, like, what kind of things are you seeing dancers struggle with? Or like, what are you struggling with? Like, I think that's a lot. Like dance teachers they forget about themselves sometimes too. like you're a part of this. So we started out with that. And then we started creating some topics, but then at the end of each council like meeting, we just chat and we end up like these stories start coming out and then we're like, wait, what if we do this? And then what if we add this? And the deeper Kristin and I too have gone into the research, the more people we have found that are doing really good research on this. Like, so, and it's unfortunate, it's not a lot in America, but so we have some really awesome guests coming up. We have a guest that's coming up that's going to be talking, that's doing research specifically on self-harm in the dance community and like how to deal with that. And so we ended up chatting with her, zooming with her, and she's just absolutely fantastic. And she was like, have you met my colleague? And then like, so introduced us to more people. And so I think it's kind of a combination of like, we're starting to meet more people in the community, but also there's more people talking about it. So there's more research. Like we have like, I'm presenting on self-talk next week. And so there's some research on AI, like, like boosting kind of like young people's self-talk and helping them through self-talk. Like so there's also always new research. So we're meeting new people, but we're also like finding new studies that are coming out that we can potentially apply to the dance studio as well.
Yeah. And I would just add to that, when we first started, you know, we really did some internal reflection and thought about the things that we struggled with when we were young as dancers, and what some of that we're still struggling with today. And so I think using our own experiences really helped us start this journey. And when we found that we opened up to each other, I think that was the first aha moment where we were like, oh, it's not just me. I wasn't the only person that was struggling with some of these things, but nobody was talking about them. So I thought I was, and then Michelle and I were talking to each other and we were like, oh my gosh, it's not just me, it's you too. Oh, wow. And then in that beta testing period where we were talking to people, would this be useful? Is this something you'd be interested in? Do you find that X, and everyone's saying, yes, 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 literally around the world, not just in the US, around the world. And we're like, okay, like it was equal parts disappointing and equal parts exciting, because you're like, oh gosh, like I'm so sorry. And it feels so bad that all of these people were struggling with these things and didn't really maybe feel safe enough or have an outlet to express this stuff. But yay, that means that we can do something about it now. Like, okay, we've stumbled upon something that needs some attention. So yeah, I mean, Michelle and I think I can confidently speak for both of us. This is also has been quite an internal journey too, where we're doing all this research and all this work, and we're healing parts of ourselves that, maybe we didn't even know needed it, but it's really rewarding in so many ways.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so important. Um, Great. Well, can you discuss any success stories or testimonials from teachers or students who have benefited from your platform or your courses?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to press the button. So I actually had a dance studio owner come up to me. So I teach on a convention. And I didn't even know their school was doing any dance and stuff. Like I hadn't like flagged like, oh, that's a person in our community. Cause sometimes we just have people that are, you know, part of our community that we don't like necessarily see at the meetings, or like they're, yeah, or they're, you know, downloading like worksheets and we don't know it. Right. So this teacher actually came and found me like 2 cities ago at convention and was like, I just want to let you know, we've been doing your worksheets. And like I've been, you know, like following you on council for the past year. And she was like, it has made a massive change in my studio and like the way my students approach this work. They had I guess a lot of interpersonal conflict like in the past, and like kind of like what she called like mean girl stuff. And as they started to open up, she said that their team got closer and that they were really like really loving it. And I was like, oh my gosh, yay. And so she showed me some pictures of them all like hanging out in the dance studio, like doing worksheets, or like, you know, like in a like big group hug. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Um, so it's really cool. It's also cool to like to know that like hopefully that this is kind of having a butterfly effect, you know, like we're it's hopefully starting to change the dance culture, you know, just not one dance teacher. So it's been really cool.
I'm muted. One day, one day. Um, every now and then we'll get a random email or a random DM on Instagram where somebody reaches out and just says, you know, I just have to tell you the work that you're doing is awesome and I love it. And it's made such a difference, whether it's a teacher or a dancer. And we do our best to screenshot these things and we save them in a folder like happy things, right? Because it's like, that is this is advice that we give to dancers and dance educators. Hold on to the good things too, because your brains are constantly going to go towards the negatives, right? So we try to practice what we preach. But it's moments like that that are really special because you're just like, yes, you're getting some of that feedback that you don't necessarily need, right, to keep going, but it certainly is helpful. And it again, you know, we're just consistently like, is it useful? Is it useful? If it's not, tell us how we can make it more useful, because that's really what we're aiming for. And so if anybody is listening who is currently using our products and services, let us know what you think. Tell us what works, tell us what doesn't. I mean, when we talk about the Danscend team, you're looking at them. So like send the email to us and we read it. Like we see all of these things. And so, yeah, it's those moments are really, really special. And sometimes we get, you know, when we're traveling and we do workshops for different events, we have instructors and dancers come up to us afterwards and just express how excited they are to have this information. One time we had an educator who was also a mom to a dancer, and both of them were in the session, and they both came up and spoke about, you know, how wonderful it was and refreshing it was to have somebody talk about these things because people aren't talking about them. So it's, yeah, they're out there and we love hearing it. So bring it our way if you have it. But yeah, it's like Michelle said, hopefully it just gets more and more and more and more. And we are, you know, we are doing this work, but there's also a lot of other people out there talking about these things too. And the community is growing. The people who have platforms to be talking about this stuff is growing. And I think that everybody that we have met on this journey has only been welcoming, and we all try to support each other, and really, because the message is bigger than any one company, any one person, any one organization. We're all trying to do this together because we all love dance. So it's fun too when we get to collab with people who are also doing the same thing.
Oh, very cool. Great. Well, okay. Last but not least, looking ahead, what are your future plans and goals, and how do you envision the platform evolving in the coming years?
Oh man. Well, you know, Michelle is the dreamer of us. So if you ask me this question, then you ask Michelle this question. I think we both have very different responses. They're both, regardless, and Michelle, you know, of course, I'll let you go too. But I think that the one thing that we can agree on is that it's really, really important to us, and this is something that we're super passionate about and we're dedicated to. And so we find a way to move forward, right? Like no matter what happens, we remember our why, just like we preach, and we try to figure out how to get the message out there and how to keep doing the work that we're doing. We have currently, I'll just talk about like currently where we are, and then I'll throw it to you, Michelle, to project a little bit into the future. I mean, we have an Instagram following now of upwards of like 6,000 folks. So our community is building. We have an email list upwards of 3,500 maybe. We are booking tons of workshops this summer with various studios and colleges, and we're traveling more. We're going to RDA, we're going to DLTC, we're going to Soul Dancer. It's becoming, in a very good way, a little overwhelming because so much stuff is coming our way. And so we're growing as we're continuing to, you know, keep the engine going, so to speak. We have educator trainings, we have staff trainings, we have judge trainings, we have our council, our membership group. We have lots of free resources too. So, you know, if you're listening and financially you're not in a position right now to purchase something, we also want to make sure that this information is accessible to anyone who needs it. So there are some free resources as well. Yeah, and then Michelle, what do you think about where we're headed?
I'd like to expand to include not just dancers, expand to include musical theater performers in 2025, expand to include actors, both pre-professional and professional working actors as young people as well in 2026. We'd love to get into the public school systems as well. We would like to train and certify every choir teacher, drama teacher, dance teacher, like entire contracts with, I don't know, state of California, state of like, you know, Washington, and then go from there. That's just the 5-year plan. And maybe an app. I'd love to have an app. Let's make an app, like a journaling app. And then we would have like, you know what I mean? And then you could have like, and then it could be like better help for dancers, better help for performers. But so then we could pair you with a mental health professional who understands. And then you would be able to get on the app and talk to your mental health professional in real time. All the things.
So you see why Michelle is the dreamer, and it's the best because, you know, without her, we would not be where we are. And to have that eye forward is also so important, just in general, for anybody, whether it's you're talking about your own personal journey through life or your journey through your career, whether you're a teacher or a dancer, to like allow yourself to think big and dream big is so important. And maybe it doesn't ever come to fruition the way that you thought, but it does help light that fire and give you direction. And so, you know, it's so important to,
and it's also,
yeah.
And it's also important to have someone who bases their understanding in reality, and someone who, you know, like understands that, you know, understands the process of things and the details of things, and makes things happen on a regular basis as well, which is why I'm very grateful for Kristin and her wisdom and her amazing organizational remembering life skills as well. So I think we work really well together.
We do. It's good to have a team with you.
Yeah.
Better together for sure. Yeah. It's me and my team. I'm like, well, what if we? And they're like, yes, but I'm like, thank you. So we all need those people. We need the balance. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Before we hop off, can you share where people can find you, website, social media, etc.?
Yeah, you can find us at danscend.com, Danscend. We're on Instagram at Danscend Official. We share lots of stuff there, lots of information, lots of tips. So give us a follow. You can email us at danscend@gmail.com. We literally read them. It's us reading them. So you'll get right to us. We are also on LinkedIn. Hey, LinkedIn. Danscend, LinkedIn. Oh, it's that new computer. Um, and where else can they find us? I think oh, you can text us. You can text.
213-770-1226.
Yeah,
And we'll text you
we've entered the 21st century with the texting. So give us a text. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much both for your time today. For everybody out there that's watching, if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.